This past weekend, the Flyers held their breakup day interviews at the end of the season, and one topic of conversation was the status of the head coach position. Over both days, there were comments from players and staff that gave fans an idea of what the Flyers might be looking for in the next head coach. And listening to those interviews, you couldn't help but notice the praise that interim coach Brad Shaw received from players, as well as general manager Danny Briere. So I wanted to go through some of those quotes to help paint a picture of why Shaw might just be a great candidate already in-house. First up, Danny Briere speaks about what qualities he wants in the next coach, followed by some quotes from Shaw himself and his players that show a pretty clear fit.
First of all, I always believed communication is important. So that's going to be something we look into. I mentioned on or the day after, was it the same day, we let go of Torts. Someone that can come in and teach will be an important one as well. Communication and teaching are two things that will be at the forefront of our next coach. Just when you have a young team in place, I really think those two attributes are extremely important.
I think I have to be myself, like every other coach, and myself is, a little bit more of a communicator. I think I need to teach. I think I need to know the players well enough to be able to keep them accountable without it feeling like it's a personal attack. I don't have 20 years of experience like Torts does, so I needed help. I needed input from the players. I needed input from the locker room. I needed input from the guys that were on the ice as to what was working and what wasn't, not only with the input from the staff as well. So I knew I needed that, and so I knew I needed those lines of communication, and so we tried to talk maybe a little bit more than what they were used to.
I would say like him and Torts, just the difference was just like the details, and Torts is probably more like meat and potatoes, and he was just more specific and detailed with how he would describe things. But he's done a lot for me, and helped develop my game in a good way, I feel like, and taught me things that I didn't even think of prior to him. So
things that I've learned from him, he just thinks the game like no one I've ever kind of spoken to. So
you can learn a lot from a guy like that. I mean, it started last year for me on the PK. I can see how detailed he was, and it wasn't just saying things to say things. He truly meant them, and it truly helped my game. So seeing him as a head coach, I think he did a great job, and I was very happy for him.
Yeah, just overall, the whole game, the way that he sees the ice made me see it in a different light, and made me make better plays, better puck decisions, more patient in certain scenarios, play quicker in certain scenarios, just understanding the game and how it's supposed to be played, and obviously very thankful for how he's kind of taken my game to that next level.
Now I want to go back to Briere, who echoes Travis Sanheim's final words there about the importance of trying to find a coach who can take the current players to the next level.
And now it's finding a coach that can take it to another level, but at the same time, maybe give a little bit more freedom to the players to try things and to let their talent come out. And we saw a little bit of that with Shawzy.
I mean, I just talked with Danny about it. I think offensively, playing more free, like making more plays, just playing free. Like when I'm not thinking out there, that's when I'm at my best. And
I think I have a good ability to put myself in the player's shoes in certain situations, and maybe understand the mistake at times a little clearer, or maybe understand the why of the mistake. It doesn't take away the fact that the mistake was made, but I think you can focus on the mistake itself, or you can focus on the process leading up to the mistake. And maybe that's what I deal with maybe more than some other coaches. I think that's where the correction and the teaching can have more effect, instead of at the actual point of when that you felt that mistake was made.
Shawzy's great. I think he's probably short period of time, but had probably the most impact on my game in terms of knowledge. And
I have nothing but great things to say about Shawzy. I think he's a great person, but his hockey intellect is off the charts. He knows the game so much more than a lot of people that I've met, and I think that's outstanding. I mean, because when you're having conversations with him, he keeps it real, and
He's, I would say, an overthinker in a good way of the game. I think he would probably admit that himself, but he's just really good at sitting down with guys, going over video. Like,
in those meetings this morning, they were saying that same thing, and I'm like, well, I just have always seen the game from my eyes, and maybe that's how it gets maybe gets the correction across a little clearer, or maybe gets gets them to the point where they can solve it themselves. I mean, I really think that's the goal, is you provide the concepts you want them to work under, and don't paint the whole picture. I love rules. I think rules make you fast. They also make you predictable, and they can also limit how much you're learning on the ice. I think concepts allow guys to fill in the blanks, and I think it allows them to not necessarily play any slower or be less predictable, but also have an extra layer of learning where they're actually making some of that decision making based on the concepts that are put forth.
That mindset from Shaw and that eye for teaching his players, that's about as good an answer as you want to hear from a coach for a young team that's trying to build and develop and grow, not to mention as a successor to Torts. And here's some more specifics on that learning and teaching from Shaw. He was asked about ML Andre and what he thinks Andre needs to improve on.
But my message to him is, I think that one of the great lessons in the game is you don't have to make the great play every shift. And I think he still gets caught in that at times. Instead of just making the play, I think he tries to make too much of a play. And I think it kind of sets the ball in motion the wrong way as far as negative momentum. The one thing that we're not talking about right now with him is all the big hits that he's taken, because he's not taking them. And when you think about that growth, that's an incredible leap for a young man to not be in the crosshairs of so many big hits. And that's a testament to learning and figuring out, hey, I got to move the puck a little quicker. I can't put myself in those situations where the big brawny guy gets to run me through the boards and still have effect and still make the play. I would say that same growth has to show up when he has the puck, and maybe from our blue line to the top of their circle specifically, where I think he can really learn a smarter game that gives him a way better chance to have success in the NHL.
And in this final section, Danny brings up the issue of accountability and a young, growing team. You'll hear Shaw's philosophy about accountability, which is pretty interesting and feels way more in line with the modern player in today's NHL.
I really like what Torts did, to be honest, the last few years with this group. Made him accountable. He was hard, but he demanded a lot. The accountability part really, I think, is going to leave something good for the next coach that comes into place.
There'd be a level of accountability, absolutely. I'd actually ask the guys, how do I hold you accountable? And I think the answer allows you then to hold them accountable with no beef on their part, because they've provided you with the MO, right? So
the team that we have a younger team that is just starting to come together. They're just starting to explore how far and how good they can be. So those are things that you keep in consideration when you talk to a coach.
Kind of got into it with some of the individuals on maybe something that would, maybe one thing that would help them, or, I asked them for one thing that would help me too, and I've been the type of coach that I feel like I have to keep learning. I feel like I have to stay relevant. So,
we built a really good relationship, us two, and kind of feel like we can talk to each other about anything and kind of go over certain things, how I see it, how he sees it, have disagreements. I might see something differently than he sees it. And that's kind of what makes us, him a better coach and me a better player.
He was great as a head coach as well. Just the approach, the mindset, the mentality he took into it was nice as well.
To put him in the middle and for him to kind of express, his feelings throughout the whole team instead of just the D, and kind of get to learn more about him as a forward and seeing him more. It was nice. He's, like I said, he's really smart, sees the game really well, and he can make adjustments on the fly, which was good.
Hearing Shaw talk at length and putting two and two together with some of these quotes from players, at the very least, Shaw should get a serious consideration for the head coaching gig. He certainly impressed me as a candidate. Let us know in the comments what stood out to you.